In functional programming, the terminology of any function which can accept function as parameters and returns a value or returns a function is known as higher order function. Hello everyone, and welcome to the first video for functional programming. And in this video, we will tackle one specific problem. The problem is we have to go to the grocery or to the supermarket and buy a diaper, a beer, and then of course pay. These are the three actions which we are going to do. And the aim is to first mimic this in object-oriented way, how we will think about it, and then we will see how a functional programmer would think about the same thing. The syntax is not important, the code is not important. The important thing is how we are going to approach this idea. How are we going to start thinking about solving this problem? And let's get started. First, we see the old-fashioned, if I can use that term, object-oriented way to do so. So we go to the supermarket. The first thing we pick up is a diaper, and then we go to the beer section, of course, pick up some beer, and then we have to pay, right? Three steps. Uh, in an object-oriented world, I would always start with, okay, I need a diaper object. It should have some price, quantity, and then you multiply the price with the quantity, per unit price with the quantity. I get the price for diaper. Similarly, I need a beer class, and then what I can do is get their objects. Is just a pseudocode. Huh? Of course, I could have created a base class out of it, but we get the point. So I get the price for my diaper object. I get the price for my beer object. I add them and then I pay. Right. Notice in this example, I am using the word object, object, object again. And the reason for that is that we are thinking about solving this problem with the help of objects, and objects are nouns, right? We are thinking about physical entities of how to solve this problem. That's what our thought process is. A functional approach would say, I am completely agnostic to what object are. I don't care what diaper is. I don't care what bear is, right? I shouldn't know. What I know is something called pay. There is a functionality called paying the money. That's my functionality. And in this functionality, I will get some values, right? I'll get some numbers which I need to add. That's how a functional approach would be. How we get these values, what I would do is I will say, call some function and let it give me that value. I, as a pay function, don't need to know what these functions, the beer function or the pay function would be doing. Let's see this part in code. So what I have here is a simple HTML file, and we can see the file on the right side. Within the script tag is where I have to do my magic, right? So let's go ahead and use the real estate to draw what we are going to do. The first is I need to buy the beers. Over here, I will buy diapers. And last but not the least here, I'm going to do the payment, right? So let's go ahead and write some code for buy beer. It is a function. Remember, functionality is function. Uh, I would copy paste some code here. Let's go ahead. So that's my beer section for console. I'm going to write, what else do? I go to the beer section. I will go to my beer section, walk to beer section. What else do I do over there? I don't know about you guys, but I get confused because there's so many choices, and there's a saying, absolute choices paralyze absolutely. And there's so many beer choices, so I will get confused. But still, once I get confused, I always go and buy beer, buy Carolus, buy 10 bottles of Carolus, right? For those who don't know, it's a very good beer from Belgium, native to Belgium, from Mechelen, precise. I love this one. And once we do, then I can say return my 10 beers, right? So that's pretty much the logic for my beers. Let's go ahead and write the same for diapers. I can go here. In place of beer, I now have diaper. La la la. We remove it here, make it diaper. What do? I walk to the kids section. I get confused because who won't? Who remembers the brand of their kids diaper? So I call my wife. She explains to me which one it is. The color is red and it has a white background and this kind of a font is over there. But anyway, I still get confused. So ask for help. And then in the end, I buy, let's say, two diapers. That's the process, right? That's the functionality, if you think about it, of buying these two stuff, which is different because we get confused differently. So I buy two. Now, payment again, I, it's a functionality. It's something I do, right? It's a different verb. It's a different action within the supermarket. What do? I should first somehow calculate my final cost. Let's do it zero here for the time being. Uh, do the calculation and then console.log again, and I pay the final amount, which would be, let's call it here, final cost. We will see how to go about calculating it, right? And to make all of this work, let's do pay, and somehow we need to run the whole, stitch together these three functions together. Of course, in object oriented world, we will just say object one dot final price, object two dot final price. But we don't have that luxury. We cannot think in terms of objects. We have to think in terms of pure functionality. To do that, uh, what if I could say, okay, give me some beers, give me some diapers here, right? What I would do is, if I could pass over here in these variables slash parameters, not the value, but the actual functionality of the beers and the diapers, right? The actual, this whole code somehow, if I could pass that over here, then I can do final cost would be actually beers executed, right? So it's a functionality, and I execute that functionality by doing these two brackets. Then I would say execute this functionality of diapers. Also, whatever the final cost is, that's what I need to pay. And over here, I could say the for paying you just put in these two values. So I would say in the pay function, you put buy beer and then you put buy diaper. So I'm sending from here my functionality. Um, in JavaScript, the function are first class citizens. So what that means is whatever is true for objects and variables is true for the function also. So we can pass in functions as variables, as parameters. We can store them somewhere in a constant variable and so on and so forth. And that's what I am doing. I'm passing, functionally speaking, I am passing to the functionality of payment the functions of buy beer and buy diaper, and not the objects as such. And then there is a necessary abstraction over here because the pay function does not know what beers and diaper is doing. All it knows is whatever it gives back, and that's the final cost. And through the payment function, I am also abstracting from beers and diapers the task of paying the final cost, calculating as well as paying. For example, I might have to, if you think about in a supermarket, you would probably also do and then give the card, or if you have, yeah, give the card and then pay, right? So these two lines, these two process, these three lines rather, I am abstracting it from the beers and diapers function because this is the common functionality. And that's how we need to think about functional programming, is to take out the common functionalities, of our broader functionality. For example, the payment, it's a common functionality, we abstracted it. And then whatever is the individual functionality, smaller functionalities, which is using this common thing, we put it as a dependency in our parameters. You see, it's a different twist to how you are writing your algorithms, but I love it. It's pretty flexible once we get the hang of it. But don't trust me. Let's see if this works. If I do it and I refresh it, and it does, I have my beer, walked to the beer section, got confused, 10 diapers, and so on and so forth. So as you can see, my application is working, and then it also does too. But there's a problem, of course, over here. What if I have one more task, which is buy vegetables? So I need to modify my API over here, put in some more functionality, and then, of course, change the function pay for thousands of activities which I might do in my supermarket. This approach will not work. And this is what we are going to fix in our next section. Uh, so Now, let's say we have one more task which we need to do when we go to the supermarket, is to buy some vegetables also, right? So let's go ahead and buy some vegetables. Buy some vegetables. So went to the cold section. No, I don't get confused. I bought like Ninja. Somehow I'm very good at buying vegetables. Bought vegetables like Ninja, and then I return with, I don't know, let's say five vegetables. Vegetables. I can never spell it right. And five. Uh, of course, I can pass it over here, but before I do that, I need to fix my pay function, right? It's not going to, for every time, I'm not going to change my API. So let's call it something else. Let's call it array of functions. So it's an array of functions, right? It's an input parameter. Over here, I don't need this. What I would do is to say something like this. Something like this. So array of f. So f is for function. Activities for each, I get the function, individual function. I execute it. Let's do it later on. The cost part, I execute that function and I add it to my final cost. This way, what I can do now here is to simply say, hey, okay, I have one more activity which I would like you to take care of, and it has to be an array. So I make it an array. So pretty straightforward, right? Let's see if this works. The proof of the pudding is in eating. Let's go. Oh, I have vegetables also. I got diapers, vegetables, beer. Perfect. So, and I also get the final amount, right? Uh, Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. Two things that we need to look over here. The first is, of course, the way in functional programming, the terminology of any function which can accept function as parameters and returns a value or returns a function is known as higher order function. So the pay over here is actually, we have written a higher order function. And as I mentioned, the basic aim of a order function is to abstract the functionality of its input functions which are coming as parameters, right? So that functionality we put over here like we did for payment. The other thing over here is interesting to note is this for each thing. If you are an old programmer like I am, I'm very, very old. I was, yeah, probably when 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 uh, when dinosaurs were roaming the earth, I was there. So if you are old programmer like me, you would remember that there was used to be an API like this. So you had a for loop, and then I is less than some length of this array, I plus plus, and then you get that array item, like this, and then you do your magic, whatever you want. If you think about it, this functionality of looping over arrays is the same for all the arrays in the world. There won't be any other new array which will have a different way of accessing its indexes. So what functional programming can do for us is to give us a function like for each, right? So it says, okay, hey, this thing I can maintain myself. I can maintain a counter myself. The for each function is telling us, I know that if there is a counter, I can do it. You just tell me what do you want to do with individual functions over here. And that's what we are doing. We say, okay, you add the final cost. And this final cost is nothing like, is pretty similar to this index over here. If you think about it, we have a function right now which has an internal variable. Similarly, for each also has an internal variable for indexes and length and so on and so forth. And that's how the whole thing works. So for each, all the array methods in JavaScript are actually higher order functions. So for each is also that one. And that's how uh, cool this functionality is. Now, the last problem we have is about introducing the unit price. So we would like to multiply the quantity with unit price. So how to do about it? The JavaScripty way, there are two ways to do it. The first, let's see the JavaScripty way. As I mentioned, in JavaScript, functions are first class citizens. So that means they can also have properties. So they also say, for example, unit price for beer is 5. And then similarly, for diapers, it would be something, and buy vegetables it would be something else. Let's do it one, make it 4, save it. And then what I can do over here is to say final cost is current, whatever the quantity is mentioned by the function, returned by the function, sorry. And then I can say current dot unit price, right? If I do this, I save it, this should work because I have these properties now. So let's save it, and then I still have the value coming, and I have everything executing perfectly fine, right? But this again is, it's a very JavaScripty way to add more property. It smells like object, right? So the way to fix that would be a pure functional way to do this would be, let's go ahead and remove all this thing. We don't need it. What I could do is to say in the function itself, say I would return an array. So the first would be the quantity, other would be the unit price. So let's call it like something like this. We return something like, make it 2, and then diaper would be, I don't know, vegetables would be 24. I don't know. Why vegetable is so costly, I have no clue. So what I could do over here, what I need to do over here is to do something like this, because this is not returning any value now, right? It's not single value. So I can say let quantity and price be, we execute that function. And then over here, I need to do quantity multiply by price, right? Save it. And let's see if this thing works. and it still is working. I have to pay more somehow because if it's an array. But you see, that's the way you could apply the functional programming aspects of it. And this is a specific example of higher order functions. So I hope that you enjoyed the video and it was helpful. If you want me to do some more videos on it or any other topic of functional programming, please mention it in the comment and I'll be more than happy to do so. And please don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. It will keep me motivated and your appreciation is deeply valued. So till then, enjoy and I'll see you soon.